The morning sun spilled softly through the palace curtains, painting the golden room in warm light. Birds chirped outside, but inside, the heir to the kingdom of Luminar was snoring loudly into a pillow. Prince Arrhiya. At 21, he was everything a royal shouldn't be: handsome, yes, charming, definitely, but lazy, flirtatious, and completely uninterested in the duties that came with his crown. The prince groaned as the door creaked open. "Your Highness," a calm, disciplined voice said. "It's morning. You need to wake up." It was Nelo, his personal servant, and also his dragon companion. In his human form, Nelo looked like a tall, lean young man with golden eyes that glowed faintly when the light hit them. He was loyal, patient, and the complete opposite of his master. Arrhiya pulled the blanket over his head. "Go away, Nelo. I'm dead." "You said that yesterday," Nelo replied flatly, pulling open the curtains. "And the day before that. And yet, somehow, you keep resurrecting every morning." Arrhiya groaned louder as sunlight hit his face. "Ugh. Turn it off. Why is it so bright in here?" "Because it's daytime, Your Highness," Nelo said, unimpressed. "You were out drinking again, weren't you?" Arrhiya cracked one eye open, hair messy, shirt half-buttoned. "I was, celebrating," he said with a lazy grin. "I had to lift the spirits of my friends. It's hard being a source of joy, you know." "You mean you were at the tavern again," Nelo said dryly. "Flirting, drinking, and making a royal fool of yourself." Arrhiya sat up, rubbing his temple. Possibly all three." He glanced at the floor and sighed dramatically. "The people of Luminar should be grateful. Their prince is fun at least." "Fun," Nelo repeated with a sigh. "That's one word for it. Irresponsible is another." Arrhiya only smirked. He was supposed to be the golden heir, the future ruler of Luminar, the light-born kingdom of the sun. But instead of attending meetings, mastering spells, or preparing for the throne, he spent his days playing the flute in the palace gardens, or flirting shamelessly with every pretty maid that crossed his path. And when night came, he partied in the noble district like a man with no tomorrow. To most of the court, he was a royal disgrace. Nelo folded his arms. "You have lessons at the Sun Temple today. The high mages will not be pleased if you skip again." Arrhiya flopped back onto the bed. "What's the point? My magic's terrible, Nelo. No matter how much I train, it never improves." "That's exactly why you need to go." Arrhiya rolled his eyes. "Please. The only thing I'm ever going to be good at is giving birth to some powerful wizard's child." He laughed bitterly and looked away. Can you imagine it? The mighty Prince Arrhiya, reduced to a hyena. A male sorcerer who can bear children. His smile faded. "It's humiliating." Nelo's expression softened. "There's no shame in what you are, my prince. But if you truly despise that fate, then fight it. Grow stronger. Prove everyone wrong." Arrhiya sighed, staring at the ceiling. "You make it sound so easy." "It isn't," Nelo said firmly. "But you have the power to change your path, if you stop wasting your time." Arrhiya groaned again, then muttered, "You sound like my father." "I'll take that as a compliment." Nelo turned toward the wardrobe, pulling out fresh royal robes. "Now, get up. Unless you want Soniera to have another reason to mock you." At the mention of her name, Arrhiya froze. Soniera, his lifelong rival. Brilliant, disciplined, adored by the kingdom, and absolutely insufferable. She'd grown into one of the most powerful sorceresses in Luminar, and she never missed a chance to remind him how far behind he was. Arrhiya sat up, scowling. "She's still as arrogant as ever, I bet." "Which means," Nelo said with a small smirk, "you'll have to work twice as hard to catch up." Arrhiya groaned but finally stood, running a hand through his messy hair. "Fine. I'll go to class. But if I have to see her smug face first thing in the morning, I might lose my mind. Nelo hid a smile as he handed him his robe. That's the spirit, your highness. As Nelo helped him dress, Arrhiya caught his reflection in the mirror, tired eyes, tousled hair, and a defeated spirit. Let's just get this over with, he muttered. Arrhiya finally managed to pull himself together, half-dressed and half-awake, as he stepped out of his chambers, only to freeze mid-step. Because right there, standing tall and regal in the corridor, was his father. King Aurelius. The golden crown on his head gleamed softly in the morning light, but his expression was anything but warm. His arms were folded, his jaw tight. The king had that look, the one that made even the guards straighten up instantly. Arrhiya winced. Of all mornings, it had to be this one. Father, he began awkwardly, attempting a respectful bow. Good morning. The king cut him off with a deep sigh. I've been hearing things again, Arrhiya. About you. About taverns. About women. About your reputation. Arrhiya tried to laugh it off. Rumors spread fast in Luminar. People love talking about their charming prince. Aurelius's gaze sharpened. You call this charm? Your behavior is reckless, your discipline is non-existent, and you treat your royal duties like a joke. Arrhiya's grin faded. The king continued, his tone firm but not unkind. You carry the name of Luminar, son. You are not just anyone. One day, this kingdom will rest on your shoulders. You must start acting like it. Arrhiya looked down, silent for a moment. Then he said quietly, why should I? My magic will never be strong enough. Everyone knows that. There was pain in his voice, quiet, defeated pain. 7 years ago. It was Arrhiya's very first day. The grand marble halls of the Sun Academy sparkled with light from the high glass ceilings. Students of all ranks and families had gathered in the central courtyard, nervous, excited, full of hope. At the center stood their tutor, Master Reen, a calm, wise man with kind eyes and cloak that shimmered faintly with solar runes. He was the Academy's magic prophecy tutor, responsible for testing the students' innate magical potential. That day was special, the day every young mage learned their true magical level. Step forward one by one, Reen had announced. The scale will reveal your natural strength. Those below 20 are still gifted, but will require discipline and patience to grow. Arrhiya stood among the crowd, his heart pounding with anticipation. He remembered that day by the golden barrier. The glow that had appeared when he touched it. Surely, he thought, I'm stronger than I look. One by one, the students stepped up. The scale glowed, some faintly, some brightly. The stronger students got cheers, the weaker ones received sympathetic smiles. Then it was Senyara's turn. She stepped forward with confidence, her chin held high. She concentrated as the magic scale lit up beneath her. The number glowed 70. Gasps filled the courtyard. The teachers exchanged impressed glances. Students whispered in awe. She's incredible. She might really become the next oracle. Soniera smiled sweetly at them, then turned that same smile into a smirk directed right at Arrhiya. And that smirk burned. Then, it was his turn. Arrhiya took a deep breath and stepped onto the glowing platform. The air hummed softly, and a pale light surrounded him. He braced himself for a bright flash, but instead, the scale flickered weakly. 18. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. 18. Below average. Weak. Arrhiya's stomach dropped. He stared at the glowing number, frozen. But then, something unexpected happened, a soft silver light shimmered above his head, like a halo. Everyone gasped again. Master Reen's eyes widened. For a moment, he seemed stunned, then quickly composed himself. Ah, he said awkwardly. That is quite rare. What does it mean? Someone whispered. Reen cleared his throat, looking at Arrhiya with cautious sympathy. It means Prince Arrhiya is a hyena. A stunned silence fell over the courtyard. Then, whispers. Then laughter. A hyena? He's a male bearer. How embarrassing, the prince is the one who'll have children. Soniera laughed openly. Oh, how fitting. The lazy prince destined to carry someone else's power. Arrhiya's face flushed red. He wanted to vanish. Reen quickly raised his hand. Enough. That's enough. His voice echoed across the courtyard. Being a hyena is not something to mock. I, too, am one. And it is not a curse, it is a different kind of blessing. The laughter quieted, but the damage was done. Arrhiya could still hear the giggles. Feel the stares. Reen continued softly, a hyena's magic awakens when he meets his true match, someone whose energy completes his own. When that happens, his power surpasses all others. He paused, but that is a lesson for another time. He placed a gentle hand on Arrhiya's shoulder. Even without that, you can still grow strong through practice and will. Never forget that. But Arrhiya barely heard him. The laughter, the whispers, and Senyara's smug, triumphant look, that was all he could see. When Arrhiya returned to the palace that evening, his steps were heavy, his pride shattered. The moment he saw his father, King Aurelius, standing tall in the golden-lit hall, all the strength he had been holding on to broke. He rushed into his father's arms and began to cry, not the silent kind, but the aching sobs of a boy who had been humiliated beyond repair. Between broken breaths, Arrhiya complained bitterly about his weak magic and how Arrhiya made fun of him. He spoke of how everyone laughed when the prophecy tutor revealed what he was, a hyena. His voice trembled as he said he wished he had been born without magic at all. King Aurelius listened quietly, his expression soft but full of sadness. Then he said something that stopped Arrhiya mid-sob. Your great-grandfather, Aurelius began gently, was also a hyena. Arrhiya blinked, confused. Yes, his father continued, and despite that, he became one of Luminar's greatest oracles. A ruler so powerful, even the stars answered when he spoke. Arrhiya stared at him, disbelief written all over his face. How? He asked in a small, broken voice. Aurelius smiled faintly. Because he found his match, a powerful mage who balanced his spirit. When that bond formed, his magic flourished like the sun itself. You see, Arrhiya, being a hyena doesn't make you weak. It means your strength lies in connection. But Arrhiya shook his head furiously, wiping his tears. I don't want to be bound to anyone. I don't want my strength to depend on someone else. I want to be free. Aurelius looked at his son with quiet understanding. He knew this was not something words could fix. So, after a moment of thought, he smiled and said, then perhaps what you need is a companion who will never leave your side. From behind his throne, he revealed a glowing, gold dragon egg, beautiful and radiant, humming with warmth. Arrhiya gasped, his sadness momentarily replaced by awe. This, Aurelius said softly, will be your lifelong friend and protector. A dragon servant, born from the fire of the sun itself. Guard it well, and it will never abandon you. From that day, Arrhiya became deeply attached to the egg. Every morning, he would check on it, talk to it, even play his flute for it. Then one quiet dawn, under the first rays of light, the egg cracked, and out came a small, shimmering dragon with intelligent golden eyes. Arrhiya named him Nelo. And from the very first day, they were inseparable. Nelo could transform into a human boy, loyal and gentle, and he became both servant and friend to Arrhiya. But even with Nelo by his side, Arrhiya's magic never truly improved. He trained, practiced, prayed, but his powers remained stagnant. Sometimes, he would sneak away to the edge of Luminar, standing before the great magical barrier separating their land from Umbreth, hoping that maybe, just maybe, it would glow again like that day from his childhood. But it never did. As the years passed, the bright, hopeful boy faded into something else. Sanrea's power grew with every passing season, her name sung in every corner of the kingdom. And Arrhiya grew bitter. He became a strikingly beautiful young man, his long white hair cascading like light, his blue eyes glowing like the ocean. Many admired him, many wanted him. Warriors, nobles, even royal mages sought his hand, desiring the power of a hyena for themselves. But Arrhiya refused them all. He laughed in the face of duty, choosing wine, parties, and fleeting pleasure instead. He flirted, he fought, he avoided every royal responsibility he could. Deep down, he knew why. Every failure in magic, every reminder of what he wasn't, pushed him further into reckless abandon. Now, Arrhiya standing before his father once again, head slightly bowed as King Aurelius spoke. "Arrhiya," his father said firmly, his tone carrying both authority and patience, "go straight home after your studies today. No taverns, no distractions. There's someone important I want you to meet." Arrhiya groaned inwardly. The last thing he wanted was another one of his father's important meetings, probably another noble or magician who'd tell him how to fix his life. But he didn't argue. Instead, he just sighed and replied half-heartedly, "Yes, father. Straight home." So, Arrhiya left the palace in his royal carriage, his dragon servant Nelo beside him in human form, carrying his bag of books. He hardly went around with guards. It was just him and Nelo. When they arrived at the academy, it was the same chaos as always. The grand marble halls were alive with students, some conjuring little bursts of sunlight, others gossiping about who had the strongest aura this week. Arrhiya barely had time to breathe before he heard familiar laughter. "Arrhiya!" Two young men waved him over, Ogello and Char, his partners in mischief. Ogello was tall and broad-shouldered, with the charm of a noble who'd never worked a day in his life. Char, on the other hand, was thin, with a sly grin and a sharp tongue that got them into trouble more often than not. As Arrhiya joined them, Char immediately leaned in with a grin. "There's a moonlight party tonight at Lady Serene's manor. Sweet wine, soft music, and even softer ladies." Ogello laughed. "And the honey tarts. I swear I'd marry Lady Serene's cook if I could." Arrhiya chuckled, the fatigue of the morning already lifting. "You two are hopeless," he said, though his tone suggested he'd already made up his mind to join them. But Nelo stepped in. "Your father said to come straight home, remember? He was very clear, Arrhiya." Arrhiya waved him off, smirking. "Relax, Nelo. One little party won't kill me." But before he could fully sink into the easy comfort of his friend's banter, the mood in the hall shifted. A hush fell over the students as the door opened, and Sanreya entered. She moved with quiet grace, her long dark hair shimmering like silk, her presence commanding every gaze in the room. Her magic, bright and golden, seemed to hum around her. Behind her trailed her small circle of admirers, students who hung on her every word. The chatter in the hall turned into whispers. "There she is, the next oracle. She's already mastered the solar chant. She's incredible." Arrhiya's smile vanished. His grip on his book tightened, though he tried to keep his expression unreadable. Sanreya's sharp eyes caught his for a brief moment, and a smirk tugged at her lips. It was subtle but enough to send a wave of irritation through him. Ogello leaned in quickly, whispering, "Don't mind her. She might be powerful, but only a royal can be the oracle. You still have that advantage." Char nodded in agreement, his tone reassuring but teasing. "Exactly. Bloodlines matter more than talent in this kingdom." Then, the sound of a bell echoed across the hall, and their tutor, Reen, appeared at the front. His purple robes shimmered under the light as he raised his staff slightly. "Attention, students," Reen announced, his calm voice cutting through the noise. "In 6 months' time, you will all graduate from the Sun Academy. And shortly after, the new oracle shall be chosen. So prepare yourselves well." A collective murmur filled the hall, excitement, fear, ambition. Arrhiya stood there silently, his heart sinking. He could feel the way people glanced at him, not with hope, but pity. Everyone already knew who the next oracle would be. It wasn't him. He just might be the first ever royal who would not become the oracle. What a disgrace. Meanwhile, far away from the golden glow of Luminar, deep within the lands swallowed by shadow, the palace of Umbraeth stood like a fortress carved from night itself. The torches lining its vast corridors flickered with blue fire, casting eerie light against cold black stone. Servants walked quickly and quietly, eyes lowered to the ground, for their emperor was awake. Kaenar, current ruler of Umbraeth, only 23 years old, was already a name whispered with fear. He strode down the endless hall with measured steps, his long cloak trailing behind him like a living shadow. His presence alone made the air grow colder. No one dared to meet his eyes. Those eyes, sharp, silver, and glowing faintly in the dark, had watched countless men fall. He was known across the kingdoms as the Emperor of Dusk, the conqueror who struck only at night. Because in the light of day, the curse of Umbraeth burned his skin. But under the moon, he was unstoppable. Entire cities trembled when Umbraeth's banners appeared under the night sky. Those who opposed him, simply disappeared. He ruled with an iron heart, and those who tested him quickly learned that mercy did not exist in his vocabulary. Traitors had been dragged into the great courtyard and executed without hesitation, some of them his own blood. The most infamous had been his uncle, Lord Aragorn, who once tried to steal the throne. Kaenar's punishment was swift and merciless. Since then, no one dared whisper rebellion again. Walking a few steps behind him was Durian, his most trusted advisor. Older, calculating, and always smiling in the way only dangerous men could smile. Durian had been at Kaenar's side since he was a boy, the voice that whispered, "Do not forgive. Do not forget." "Your Majesty," Durian said softly as they walked, "your absence these past days has made the ministers uneasy. But seeing you now, they will remember who rules this kingdom." Kaenar didn't respond. His eyes stared straight ahead, focused and cold. "Let them tremble," he said finally, his voice deep and steady. "Fear keeps them loyal." As the emperor passed, every guard, servant, and noble bowed so low their foreheads nearly touched the floor. None dared to breathe too loudly until he had gone. From one of the adjoining corridors, a palace maid hurried toward the private chambers of Lady Laena, Kaenar's first concubine, a woman known for her beauty and ambition. "My lady," the maid whispered urgently, kneeling. "His Majesty has left seclusion." Laena's eyes lit up. For days, Kaenar had locked himself in his war chamber, speaking to no one. She had been waiting, restless, lonely, desperate for his attention. Without hesitation, she rose from her couch, her silken gown whispering across the floor as she hurried out. When she saw him, she smiled brightly and stepped right into his path. "Your Majesty," she exclaimed, trying to sound sweet and composed. "You haven't visited me in days. I've been so lonely without you." Kaenar stopped. Slowly, he turned his head toward her, and the weight of his stare alone made the corridor fall silent. He didn't speak for a long moment. When he did, his voice was calm but sharp enough to cut through her confidence. "Laena," he said, "did I give you permission to stand in my way?" She faltered, her smile trembling. I only wanted to see you." "Then you have seen me," he interrupted coldly, brushing past her. "Now, step aside." She stood frozen, the echo of his boots fading down the corridor. But before disappearing completely, Kaenar turned slightly, his silver eyes glinting in the dim light. "Do not mistake your place," he warned. "You and the others exist here because I allow it. You are ornaments in my palace, nothing more." And with that, he was gone. Laena stood motionless for several seconds, her face pale, her pride burning beneath her skin. When she finally turned away, tears welled in her eyes, not just from heartbreak, but humiliation. Everyone in the hall had seen it. The Emperor had no heart, and no one in Umbreth dared to remind him what it meant to have one. Beyond the cold marble walls of the palace, past the black towers and shadowed courtyards, Emperor Kaenar rode alone into the woods, or so it seemed. Only one person was waiting for him there, in a clearing veiled by mist and moonlight. That person was Polar, Kaenar's oldest friend and, perhaps, the only soul in Umbreth who dared to look him in the eye and still smile. Polar was nothing like the Emperor. Where Kaenar's presence commanded silence, Polar's invited laughter. His messy red hair was pulled back loosely, and his robes were stained with soot and strange powders from his experiments. Around him, glass vials glowed faintly with captured moonlight, and symbols were etched into the ground in spiraling patterns. As Kaenar approached, Polar didn't bow. He never did. Instead, he smirked. "Well, look who finally left his throne. I was starting to think you'd turn to stone." Kaenar shot him a glare but said nothing. "You talk too much," he muttered, brushing past him. Polar laughed. "And you frown too much. Balance, my friend. It's called balance." The Emperor ignored the jab, walking toward the glowing runes on the ground. His sharp eyes scanned the arrangement: moons, sigils, reflective crystals, and a bowl filled with liquid light. "Another experiment?" Kaenar asked, though his tone held a flicker of hope. Polar's grin faltered. "Another failure, I'm afraid." He sighed. "I tried harnessing lunar essence with shadow particles, but nothing. Not even a flicker of sunlight." Kaenar's jaw tightened. "So it's hopeless then?" "Not hopeless," Polar corrected gently, "just complicated." He knelt beside his instruments, staring at the dull crystals as if sheer will might make them glow. Every theory, every spell points to one truth: the curse was never just darkness. It's like the sun chose to abandon us. Something, or someone, broke the balance long ago. Kaenar's gaze hardened. "You're referring to that sun appearing 10 years ago?" Polar nodded. "Yes. Kaenar. You saw it yourself. The light pierced through for the first time in centuries, even if it was only for a few seconds." His eyes gleamed with quiet excitement. "There has to be a reason that happened. Some kind of connection." The memory made Kaenar go still. He remembered the warmth, fleeting but real, the golden rays that had touched his dying mother's face before vanishing again. It had been both a miracle and a curse, a cruel reminder of what his people had lost. If that moment meant something, Kaenar said bitterly, then why hasn't it happened again? Polar stood up, brushing dust off his hands. "That's what I'm trying to find out. But I can't do it alone." Kaenar turned away, his cloak shifting with the movement. "You have the Empire's best scholars, the brightest minds. What more do you need?" "You. And your cooperation." "The blind seer asked to see you," Polar said finally. "She claims she's had a vision, something about the balance of light and dark shifting again." Kaenar groaned quietly, his patience wearing thin. "That woman's been spouting riddles for years. If she truly foresaw the future, we wouldn't still be living under eternal night." Polar's tone softened, though his eyes were serious now. "Maybe. But she's never been wrong either." Kaenar turned his gaze toward the window, the dark forest beyond them. The shadows stretched endlessly, swallowing the horizon. "I don't have time for vague prophecies and blind ramblings." Polar stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Then make time. This could be the key to bringing the sun back. Isn't that worth one conversation?" Kaenar didn't answer immediately. His silver eyes reflected the faint moonlight as he exhaled slowly. Finally, he muttered, "You're insufferable, Polar. And you're stubborn," Polar shot back with a grin. The Emperor looked at him for a long moment, then left the house and turned back toward his horse. "Fine. I'll see her. But if she wastes my time..." Polar cut in with a chuckle. "You'll glare her to death, I'm sure." But Kaenar kept walking. In the deep, shadowed valley of Umbreth, Emperor Kaenar found himself standing before a crooked wooden hut surrounded by twisted trees and eerie silence. It was the home of Whitey, the blind seer, a woman shrouded in mystery and feared by many for her unsettling foresight. The night air was thick with mist, and the faint crackle of a lantern inside was the only sign of life. Kaenar pushed open the door, and the smell of herbs, smoke, and something ancient greeted him. Inside, Whitey sat by a dim fire, her pale eyes clouded and unseeing, yet her face turned toward him as though she had been expecting him for years. "So, the mighty Emperor Kaenar finally decides to visit an old woman," she said, her voice both amused and sharp. "I called for you moons ago, yet you ignored me, thinking yourself above prophecy." Kaenar straightened his dark cloak, trying to mask the flicker of guilt in his chest. "You speak boldly for someone addressing their emperor," he said, his tone flat but curious. "What is it you want from me, Whitey?" The old woman gave a dry laugh. "Not what I want, child. What your kingdom needs. I have seen a shadow approaching, one that will consume Umbreth. The kingdom has only 12 years left before the doom comes, unless the sun returns to our skies." Kaenar froze, disbelief flashing in his eyes. 12 years? You must be mistaken. We've survived for centuries without the sun. Our people have adapted. Our rule is strong. Whitey's hand slammed against her staff. Strong? You think eternal night makes you powerful? The land is dying, Kaenar. The rivers run colder. The crops wither faster each year. Even your conquests cannot feed a kingdom built on darkness. Her milky eyes lifted toward him. The curse is nearing its end. The entity who cast it will soon claim what they desire, and when they do, Umbreth will fall. Kaenar's jaw tightened. Entity? What entity? I do not know, Whitey admitted, her voice softening. Their face is hidden from me, wrapped in shadows. But their power grows, Emperor. You can feel it too, can't you? The weight in the air, the restlessness in your dreams. For a moment, Kaenar's cold composure cracked. He had felt it, the strange unease that had haunted him lately, whispers in his sleep calling him by name. He drew a slow breath, hiding the chill that ran through him. So what is to be done, then? How do I stop it? Whitey's lips curved into a faint, mysterious smile. There is hope, she said. The bringer of light will come soon, someone destined to shine not only upon Umbreth but upon you as well. When that person appears, protect them with your life. They are the key to restoring the sun, and to saving us all. But beware, the entity will seek them too. Kaenar stood in silence, her words sinking deep into him. He didn't know whether to laugh or believe her. Yet, as he stared into the fire, the memory of that single, fleeting moment years ago, when the sun had broken through the endless night, rose in his mind like a ghost. Perhaps the old woman wasn't mad after all. Without another word, Kaenar turned and left the hut, his cloak whispering against the cold ground. But Whitey's voice followed him into the darkness, soft and haunting. Remember, Emperor, the light may save you, or destroy you. He didn't look back. But for the first time in years, the great Emperor of Umbreth felt something unfamiliar stirring in his chest, fear. Meanwhile, deep beneath the palace of Umbreth, far from the flickering torchlights and trembling servants, a dungeon lay hidden, a place so old and cursed that even the bravest guards dared not enter. The air there was thick and heavy, reeking of damp earth and secrets. Chains clinked faintly in the distance, and the only sound that dared to disturb the silence was the steady drip of water echoing through the endless dark. In the center of that suffocating gloom knelt Advisor Durian, the man everyone in the Empire knew as the Emperor's most trusted aide. His fine robes were dirt-stained, and his proud head was bowed low, not in reverence to Kaenar, but to another. Before him, seated on a throne of blackened stone, was a figure cloaked in shadow. Its presence was suffocating, neither fully man nor spirit. The air seemed to warp around it, as though even darkness itself was drawn to serve. Durian's voice trembled with twisted devotion. "My lord Sacador, the time is near," he said, lowering himself until his forehead nearly touched the cold floor. "Soon, all of the world will belong to you. Soon, you will rise above gods themselves." A deep, rumbling laugh filled the dungeon, low and menacing, like thunder rolling in a storm that never ended.
"Rise above gods. You flatter me, Durian. Tell me, what of your precious Emperor Kaenar? The little conqueror who thinks he holds the world in his iron grip. What foolishness keeps him busy now?"
Durian hesitated, afraid to sound like he was carrying gossip to a god. He has gone to see the blind seer, Whitey," he said carefully. "Perhaps he grows curious about the future again." The shadows shifted, and Sacador's laughter erupted, cold and cruel, echoing through every stone of that cursed dungeon. "Whitey?
That blind wretch can see nothing. She is but a puppet of fate, dancing to music she doesn't understand. Let her whisper her warnings. It changes nothing. Kaenar is mine, just as every emperor before him was. Every ruler of Umbreth serves me, whether he knows it or not."
He leaned forward, and for a moment, his eyes, two burning coals in a sea of black, flared with a terrifying light.
"Soon," Sacador said, his voice deep and almost gleeful, "this entire earth will crumble into dust. The skies will devour its last breath, and no man, no prophecy, no so-called bringer of light will stand in my way."
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, do like and subscribe and click on the notification button to receive newer updates on the series. It promises to be even more intriguing in future episodes. Love you all. Have a great day.